So, welcome everyone to the webinar on free AI and how you can use Perai to accelerate your free AI journey. It's a very interesting time that we are living in, where AI is adopting and regulators are also beginning to provide the clear path for organizations to adopt the AI the right way. And we had DPDP, which was passed in Parliament in 2023, which is the foundation for data, and that is being used as a raw material for building AI. Now, to understand AI, it's not just data, but there are many other elements beyond data that we have to understand. While data is a very important component, we have to understand how models are developed, how models are deployed, how models are used, what kind of controls you can have during inference, which are very different from just a data perspective. Recently, while the industry has been thinking about how these regulations are going to shape up, RBI has come up with a committee, which is last year, December. They came up on 6th of December. They announced a committee called Free AI Committee, which worked on the requirements of how an organization in BFSI should approach AI. What is the right way of looking into AI? And how can you unlock data, unlock models, and how can you accelerate India's AI journey in this direction in the right way? Right? This is very, very interesting and very important because when you don't have clarity, it becomes very difficult to trace a path or follow a path in deploying AI in your organizations. There are a lot of organizations uh, which are blocking Gen AI in their business ecosystem, which is not appropriate because they won't be able to unlock the value of AI in their ecosystem, which pushes them back, right? Which is very critical. At the same time, they cannot allow everybody to say that, okay, go ahead and use it completely, because if they make investments in a specific direction in AI, and if regulator tomorrow says that it is not appropriate, then they will have to cut down the user experience and cut down on the investment that they have made, which will become a big problem. Now, how do you balance this is what a regulatory clarity was required, and that clarity has been provided by the free AI committee, right? While privacy was is also a profit center, people really want, most of the organizations and the CXOs want to go ahead with AI initiatives. They want clarity from a regulatory perspective so that they are clear how do they start their organization's journey. And this is a board level obligation. So in today's session, what we will look at is what are the fundamentals, right? What is RBI's free AI? Why is this strategic for every organization in the banking and financial sector? What are the biggest risks as per the report? How do we solve that? And more importantly, who is responsible for sharing? And what is their responsibility in solving these problems? Uh, and then, so this is the fundamental part of it, right? What is the framework? Why is it strategic? What are the risks? Whose responsibility is this, right? Followed by how do you design your free AI journey? It looks like all theory. So how do I even understand, okay, where do I start the free AI journey in my organization or my customer's organization? And in that, there are some very important pillars which are mentioned, which are important for an RE, which is a regulated entity. For example, capacity building, governance, protection, and assurance. These are four key pillars which are applicable to an RE. So how do you build your abilities in these pillars, right? And what is requirement, and how can Privasapien help you, participate in this journey and accelerate your free AI journey in your organization? Followed by how are we have been doing this same set of products, like whatever is the requirement mentioned in free AI is based on global requirements. And these global requirements, we have customers globally solving this exact problem. And we have been doing this for more than 2 years now globally. We launched, Perai as a platform 2 years ago, and free AI is directly aligned with Perai, right? Even in the names, you can see, like, many letters matching. So we are directly aligned with the requirements, and we already have a product stack which can enable you to accelerate your journey and start your journey tomorrow. For example, the first is capacity building. We have already done 3 rounds of sessions, like, training classes across the globe, one in Bangalore, one in Paris, one in Mumbai. And our participation in India AI is also called out, not directly with our name, but India AI Accelerating Startups in Paris, of which we were a part of, is also called out in the report. So we have a very good understanding of the report, and we can accelerate your journey today. And we also have case studies of how we are enabling organizations across the globe and in India as well. Followed by responsible AI is directly a profit center. There is no doubt about it, because AI is a key requirement for all organizations. So it's a direct profit center, and it is a board level obligation, right? So this is what we will see in the session today. So Perai was launched 2 years ago, which is today in direct alignment with free AI requirements. This is world's first full stack responsible AI platform. We are proud to say that, and we are recognized across the world, including India AI's, Paris Acceleration of Startups, Morgan Stanley's Future of AI Award, Google for Startup AI First Cohort, 20 startups out of 1,000 plus startups, Accenture Ventures Digital Core Award, Maruti's Mail Challenge, NASSCOM's Responsible AI Award, Saudi Arabia Government's Pet Sandbox Graduation, and many more. So let's cut to the chase. What is free AI? Why is it strategic? Free AI is a framework for responsible and ethical usage of AI in business ecosystems. It has two subsegments in it. One is risk mitigation, one is innovation enablement, right? And these constitute 6 pillars which are part of the framework. The framework at the center has 7 sutras, or 7 principles, um, which are like trust, people first, innovation, fairness, accountability, understandability by design, safe, resilient, and sustainability. Right? We will get into a bit more details. These are higher order principles, right? We are more interested in pillars which are one step deeper, which are very important, especially from technical and governance perspective. So this falls into 6 pillars, as you see here. Infrastructure, policy, and capacity. These fall under the innovation enablement layer, primarily for the regulators and industry, especially infrastructure and policy, the recommendations which have been made on top of it, right? So, like for example, RBI setting up a AI innovation sandbox, regulator providing incentives and funding support, integrating AI with DPI, right? Enabling policies, liability framework, things like those. So primarily the infrastructure and policy part that you see are primarily for the regulators, and how should regulators enable the society and the players and the REs in accelerating AI adoption. That is what is these two pillars about. In the remaining 3 pillars, capacity is sort of a joint pillar, and that's where things start for REs, or the regulated entities, where you have capacity building, which is required for RE, which is the first, followed by capacity building for regulators and supervisors, then framework for sharing best practices, recognizing and rewarding responsible innovation. So the remaining 3 are more for the regulator perspective. The first one in capacity is for the REs, right, which is capacity building within REs. Then the whole risk mitigation part is for REs. And this is what we are going to see today. What is your obligation as an RE or a consultant, as a system integrator? What is your obligation towards the recommendation of RBI, and how do you accelerate your customers' AI journey in the process? And as an initial player, right? You have an opportunity to become the thought leader in this space, because very less number of people understand this and can implement it. And we are in a golden position to ensure that we can empower the customers today, when there is clarity on how to approach AI in the banking sector. Right now, in this, these are the 7 attributes. For example, trust. It puts trust as the first principle or the first sutra, right? um, it should be a trust by essence and not as a byproduct. So it basically says, like, responsible AI by design is what they intend to say. And it should be people centric, which means, like, human beings should be the final authority, and all of AI should be used for empowering humans, right? It somewhere connects to Privasapien as a principle, the first principle idea behind which we came up with the name of Privasapien. Then innovation. It should accelerate innovation, and it should not restrain in terms of, not allowing people to use model or data, right? How do you unlock data is the question. Unlock model is the question. Fourth is equity. Equity in the sense inclusion, financial inclusion of people, and data being, ensuring unbiased nature, which is also protected, which is also taking care of consumer protection. Then accountability of the deployer. It is very important. It says that, okay, just because you are taking a Gemma or a Llama, you cannot outsource your obligations to Gemma or Llama, because they will not take it. It's open source model. At the end of the day, they are saying it is a deployer who is responsible for what is being deployed. So it is very important. And then the decisions made by the system should be understandable, and you should be able to disclose in terms of risks. And finally, secure, resilient, and efficient systems should be deployed, and that should be one of the priorities. So these are the 7 principles which are very much aligned with Parai's whole objective of PASPER, aligned with NIST as well. How do you build and deploy AI? It is, in fact, absolutely aligned. We will have some of the very important quotes from free AI. When used right, AI offers tremendous benefits. Used without guardrails, it can exacerbate the existing risks and introduce new forms of harm. So, used right is the key word, and it is definitely a profit center, right? AI is a profit center. We will lose out in business if we don't do it. We cannot unlock new value for customers. We cannot improve our efficiency without AI. So it is critical. But we need to have the right kind of guardrails in place if you want to put it into action and unlock value out of it. So they have put some very interesting statistics as well, based on their consultation with multiple people from the ecosystem. For example, the financial entities which participated in the RBI survey, right? They have listed out the projects, or the number of projects implemented and currently being implemented. AI projects alone are 396. So there is, like, large number of players experimenting with large number of use cases in the ecosystem today as we speak. And this is like sometime old, right? At least like 4 to 6 months old data. This is right. 396 AI use cases in the Indian financial sector amongst the banks and, like, NBFCs, and 187 planned to be implemented. And if you look at it, most of them are in customer engagement, which is very sensitive in nature, right? Customer support, credit underwriting, sales and marketing, cybersecurity, fraud detection, AML. So these are, like, all of them are, like, very sensitive financial personal data, which are very critical. Right now, this is a reference which was made by Free AI to World Economic Forum's report, which came earlier this year. If you look at it, there are use cases across the spectrum. This is GenAI banking example, where you can see use cases across the spectrum, whether it is consumer or private banking, commercial or corporate banking, or wealth management. The use cases are spread across pricing, sales and marketing, onboarding, underwriting, operations, services, technology, AI, risk and compliance, enterprise applications across the stack. Name functions, you have AIs, and many of them are high impact. The ones which are in dark blue, right? For example, card management, call center, client servicing, operations control, investment management, advisory services, real-time decision making, audit, compliance, financial crime and AML, risk management. Many of them have huge impact because of AI, and adoption is already taking place in this space. And as we generally say, AI is a transforming financial service, is what World Economic Forum has to say, offering efficient and revenue growth opportunities. So the persona that we have to present our solutions or take our solutions to internally or externally is definitely not cost centers. These are profit centers. And we have to ensure that these are mitigated properly before they use it for unlocking. Now, for this also, they are providing multiple solutions. So this is also an important point mentioned in the report. In the banking ecosystem in India, right, free AI considers, the operations with Gen AI can be improved by up to 46%. And operational efficiency are very, very important for banks, right? It can go up to by 46%, which is a lot. Now so this is very, very clear for us now that, AI is very strategic for organization, and free AI is right at the center of giving a right path to the organizations of what is the right way of using AI in the financial ecosystem. So the ambiguity goes away and organizations can accelerate their AI journey. Now, what is the biggest risk? As per the report, right, the highest risk is data privacy and security, followed by cybersecurity, governance, third-party risks, reputational risk, lack of infrastructure capability, lack of internal skill capability, market manipulation, and others. So the top three, if you look at it, data privacy and security, cybersecurity, governance. These are the top three risks faced by the biggest of banks and NBFCs during consultation with or during the surveys by RBI in the process, right? Now, there are some direct quotes from the document. Why is data privacy the highest risk? Because RE must establish robust data governance frameworks, and they have to comply with DPDP Act, which also covers AI, by the way, through 12C for algorithmic software as well. So DPDP as an act already covers AI, and it's a direct obligation. Both data and AI, that is during the data collection, data pre-processing, model training, model inference stage, right? All of them, the collection, access, usage, retention, and deletion of data is going to be critical in the AI system, and it has to be done in line with DPDP requirements. Hence, the importance of privacy in AI. Right. So as we discussed, right, there are different stages in your AI journey. First is data collection, right? Second is you will have to collect data, like you would have collected data, let's say loan approval, right? You will have lots of data regarding loan approval. Can you use all data in AI ecosystem? Well, you don't know. You'll have to check. What kind of protections are needed, and how do you ensure that the data is protected, right? That's also a very, very important area. So once you collect the data, you protect the data. Once you protect the data, then you use the data for model training. Once you train the model, then you check the model for assessment, right, for AI red teaming. Once assessment is done, you deploy the model in a safe and secure way, so that it is beneficial for all parties involved in the ecosystem, right? So what organizations don't know is they don't know which data to use, which data not to use. They don't know how to protect the data. They don't know how to train the model. They don't know how to test the model, what is appropriate, and how to use the model and how to secure the model. right? And the penalties are very high when it starts with DPDP. It goes up to 50 crore, right? And there is a huge reputational risk also on top of it. So hence, organizations are very worried in starting their journey while they absolutely know that it is critical. Now, the dilemma here is, if you are an organization AI, you definitely know that the end is not going to be good for you. And if you are a company using AI but without guardrails, you know that it's going to be dangerous at some point and you just don't know at which point. But when you have the right capabilities in AI with certainty of how to invest in AI and what is to be controlled, what is acceptable, then you can move really fast in achieving your organization's objectives and make it as a strategic advantage for your organization in unlocking data and model. Right. So this is what free AI mentions, like innovation thrives when its operation is within a framework of transparent and accountable governance structure. So when the structure is known that, okay, this is the framework for responsible AI. These are the things that you have to do at data collection level, data pre-processing level, model training level, model red teaming level, model deployment level. Then you have a sense of certainty. Okay, this is what is to be done in this phase, and go ahead with it. It becomes easier for you to achieve the results, and it's a win-win for all parties. In the foundation, this is the last section, and this is a very, very interesting section. Who is responsible and how? Right? And this clearly AI is a board level obligation. Free AI directly calls out that RE should establish a board approved AI policy which covers key areas such as governance structure, accountability, risk appetite, organizational safeguards, auditability, consumer protection, AI disclosure, model lifecycle framework, liability framework. They have mentioned some others as well in the document in terms of auditability framework, etc. But this is a board level obligation. So the requirement starts from the board, nowhere below, not even CEO. It's at the board level, right? So the recommendation is that, um, sorry, yeah, there is board, and board creates a risk management committee. The risk management committee primarily understands the regulatory risks which are associated with it, and then creates an AI adoption committee which will drive the recommendations into execution on a daily basis within the organization. And the explanation of this is, risk management committee will identify, assess, and mitigate AI related risk and integrate them into institutions overall risk mitigation framework. And it is a very high level committee. It need not get into like nitty-gritties and details like cybersecurity, right? Free AI, that is responsible AI, is also a broad requirement, and it's more like a board level oversight. And then you may have some independent directors also, along with CEO, chief risk officer, and chief compliance officer, part of the oversight board, which is the risk management committee, right? Then you have AI adoption committee, which is tasked with technology adoption. Technology is a key word here, because this group can be more technical in nature, bridge the functional teams across business, risk, compliance, and technology department. So they bring together the business teams and the technology teams and the governance teams, and then help achieve the objectives on ground. Right. So this team may include the CIO, CTO, head AI governance, chief AI officer, CISO, DPO, chief data officer, and business heads, who will together work in accelerated AI adoption, which is also compliant in nature. So that brings us to the end of the first section, which is the fundamentals. I would love to see if there are any questions. I would love to pass and then.
Are there any binding obligations on AI developers and deployers similar to EU AI Act?
Okay. So the obligations, these are more recommendational in nature. So it will become sort of an obligation down the line. But it clearly calls out what are the things that you have to do when you are deploying AI in your business ecosystem. We will look into these requirements as we go into the subsequent slides. But these are not obligations yet. This is a stage just before obligation, where they are saying if you are doing AI, this is a recommendation, you follow this. Tomorrow probably this will become like a mandate by RBI. You don't know. So as of now, it is not an obligation, but a recommendation, one step before that. Are there any recommendations to use AI for governing AI? Okay. Yeah. So for all AI, there are recommendations. So they expect that there is, in certain scenarios, there should be human in the loop. And we will look at what those scenarios are, right? That will be covered subsequently. Like when we look at AI for data, for example, data protection impact assessment or AI impact assessment or AI red teaming results or AI audit framework. So there are a lot of points where human involvement is required, though it is being governed by AI. The final decisions have to be made by humans, and those scenarios have been called out.
So there's a confusion of the enforcement that is like 250 crores penalty under DPDPA. However, the segregation is not yet very clear. Uh, Mostly it is for mishandling children data. The majority of portion would be like 200 crores would be for those and 50 crores would be for breaches. So that is not yet clear.
Okay, no. So actually, children's data mishandling, as you said rightly, is 200 crores. But if you have breached data and there is no technical safeguard, or you have been caught off guard without putting technical guardrails because of which the data has got breached, whether it is AI or data, it doesn't matter. But if it has got breached, personal data has got breached, then the penalty can be up to 250 crores.
Noted. Noted. Minimum security should be there.
Yeah, the right kind of control should be there.
Yeah, noted. Noted.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's get into how do you now, this is a very, very interesting section. Um, so how do you define your free AI journey? And it shows a lot of thought has gone into the process, and it sounds very logical. And like at least the structure of it looks very, very clean. They have given some reference policies as well in the document. So to start with, um, first is, even if you look at the pillars that we saw earlier, right? The first two are for the regulators. So from a RE perspective, the first one is capacity building or training. So there should be separate responsible AI training, and given that the board has to approve and board is involved right from the beginning, it is important that the board and the CXOs go through certain kind of awareness in responsible AI, along with the technical teams go through some hands-on training is ideal, right? This is an ideal case of the journey. So when we start from the pillars, as they mentioned, the first one is the AI training part, right? So it makes sense, because once you know this is when you can put a policy in place. Because once you put a policy in place is when you will be able to build tools or use tools for meeting those obligations. So there is a governance structure, as we saw in the previous one. The board probably will start working on a governance structure once the training is done, where they will do a risk management committee and AI adoption committee, right? These have to be set up. And parallelly, the technical team, which you would know, part of, let's say, AI governance team, or chief AI officer, or the chief data officer, or the DPO, or the CISO, or the CIO, whoever you know is handling the mantle of the responsibility. They can start understanding the business needs and mitigatory requirements, because these have been clearly stated now, right? And your business teams would say that, okay, I need AI for this, right? Now the mitigations are clearly called out. Okay, these are the mitigations. So you can start doing probably, initial POCs to understand what kind of solutions you would need. And then as a result of it, start putting out a board approved AI policy. Once this is done, you have a policy in place. They have given a sample policy also, a simple 2-pager they have given. We will look at it later. So based on this policy, your data lifecycle management starts, which is implement data protection and control mechanisms across the data lifecycle, followed by AI lifecycle management, where you implement red teaming and controls across AI lifecycle, right? Of course, AI starts with data, so we start with data lifecycle management and then we go to AI lifecycle management. Once these two are done, your assurance framework like AI inventory, audit, disclosure, compliance, thresholds, all those things come in. So you validate where you stand in terms of these assurance guarantees or governance requirements. And then you do periodic reviews of it in terms of regulatory and technical development. And then it results in, once again, like periodic training. And then subsequently, policy update and improving your governance structure. And it goes on as a cycle, which is a free AI journey, right? This is very, very important to understand. And then I think there was a question. Is there a question?
Yes.
Rishabh? Yeah.
Yeah. What guardrails has the RBI's AI framework proposed to ensure safe and responsible use of AI?
Okay, sure. Great question. Just hold on to it. We will look at it subsequently, like next couple of sections. Like after the capacity section, we will directly be looking into that only. Any other questions?
I think so far.
Okay. Cool. So please hold on to the question. We will cover that in the next couple of slides. Hope this is clear. Now, like within that, first is capacity building, right? There are 26 recommendations in total, 13 on the innovation enablement side and 13 on the mitigation side. Right? These are total 26 recommendations. In that, 13 of them apply to REs, which is regulated entities, which is the only one which is on the left side. The capacity building side is this. Remaining 12 are on the other side, which is on the mitigation side for the REs.
With respect to
Any specific control requirements in each stage of the life cycle? Yeah. There are specific requirements in terms of control across the life cycle. We'll look at those in the subsequent slides. So to understand the free AI requirement, they have given very specific recommendations, right, in each of these sections. If you don't read anything, you just have to read those recommendations. I'm not sure if I have it in the... Yeah. For example, this is the document. This is the free AI document. And in this, there are sections. And if you go to the principles to practice recommendation, this is the most critical one, right? This is the one which mentions about your functions, what you have to do. So in that, you have these 6 pillars. And within these 6 pillars, the capacity, governance, protection, assurance, for all of them, they have given recommendations, right? Each of them, including infrastructure and policy. These are recommendations for the regulators, right? For example, regulator and government, high quality financial sector data infrastructure should be established. It may be integrated with AI Kosh, India Dataset Platform, right? Established under India emission. So they give different such recommendations. But when you get into the data part of it, for example, data lifecycle, there are specific recommendations given. They also speak about, for example, they directly speak about pets as well. I will cover that later. For example, here, right? Financial sector data infrastructure must ensure that the personal and confidential data is protected. This would call for use of privacy enhancing technologies, PETs, anonymization, data aggregation as applicable, which is very, very strategic. Right. So they have mentioned, for example, they have mentioned about red teaming, they have mentioned about multiple other controls. We will get to that later, like when we get to the stages. But there are multiple controls that have been mentioned at different stages. Right. So in terms of capacity building, we already have a certification program, right? PCDPO 360. It's like first of its kind, which covers like responsible AI principles significantly across the spectrum. We are planning to also launch a PC Responsible AI Officer 360 certification soon in Mumbai. So looking forward to your participation. We have done these earlier in Mumbai, Paris, and Bangalore. Right. So the capacity building requirement is the central one where you start with it. Probably, you would require a workshop for this C-suite, which speaks about these controls and mitigations. And then for AA governance team, it requires a hands-on training requirement, right? So in terms of governance, this is like a sample board policy, right, which speaks about the purpose and scope, principles, governance structure and roles, AI lifecycle management. For example, rigorous testing is needed. Have you done red teaming exercises? List key controls responsible to ensure systems are developed are safe, ethical, and accountable. Data governance requirement, if you have done data cleaning, anonymization, encryption, sharing, and purging of data. If bias is mitigated, are you using synthetic data? Are you adhering to standards? Then risk mitigation, like how do you ensure that it is fair and useful? How do you mitigate the cybersecurity risk in AI? What are the adequate requests for all decisions and outputs of AI application? And then how do you ensure that it is safe during interactions? How do you ensure that the third party products that you are taking, which has AI, embedded AI in it, how do you understand it? How do you ensure that that's responsible? And then overall policy review. It's a simple 2-page document, but covers a lot of ground. Right. In terms of data lifecycle governance, they have clearly mentioned about DPDP as a requirement and ensure that you have to meet DPDP requirements across the lifecycle. This is DPDP framework, which we can share with you later based on availability. This is something that we have also available in our blog. So request you to have a look based on your interests. AI system governance. So in AI, right from model design, development, deployment, decommissioning, you need to follow specific policies and process in place. Right, this is what we saw earlier. So for example, the data collection level, probably you can do privacy threat modeling and agentic DPIA. You can do privacy enhancing technologies, the data production level. You can do privacy preserved machine learning for fairness as well, privacy and fairness at the AI training level. You can do AI red teaming, which is a regulatory recommendation along with AI impact assessment. And then you can potentially have AI firewall between user and your model, and also do pseudonymous inferencing so that sensitive data does not flow to the user, right? This is AI system governance end to end. Product approvals. Whenever you are taking a product, I think this was also a question asked by somebody earlier. So you should ensure that all AI enabled products should be brought into the approval process, into the framework that you are putting in, whether it is AI or AI used for governing AI, or it is for AI tools which you need to validate. There needs to be an approval process in place which you need to have for unlocking the data. And for example, you can have some report structures like we have in the Parai platform in terms of risk in the data, risk in using the data for a specific context, unlocking the data, approving the data or the model in the business ecosystem. It becomes very, very important. So we looked at governance pillar. These were like from the governance pillar, data governance, AI system governance. So this is data lifecycle governance, then AI system governance, right? We saw the stages and product approval. These are the primary things in the governance part. Then in protection, so consumer protection is very important. It should be fair, transparent, accessible, and you should ensure that you protect. And consumer protection, this is 31700 is a global consumer protection ISO requirement, so where pets also play a very important part. So they have also mentioned about pets. So pets are going to be very, very critical in your AI adoption journey. These are different pets. Probably we can discuss about this later when we have more time. Next is cyber security measures. So when somebody is putting some prompts and they are going, what kind of risks are identified? How do you mitigate the risk? How do you summarize the risk? How do you share this information is also very, very critical. So you have something like RAI, FireLM or Ragam in your ecosystem so that you can understand the risk at the prompt level and mitigate it while interacting with downstream models. Next is AI red teaming. That is when you are using the data, using the model and deploying the model, you have to understand the risk and assess the risk in the model before deploying it. For example, we have a product called Agent Turing, which can first interview a model and then tell you what kind of risks are present in a model before you even implement in your business ecosystem. And that is very powerful because there is no point, post facto knowing that, oh, I had deployed a bad model and it is like, not ensuring the user experience is good. Right, that becomes a problem. And this is also becoming a problem in business continuity if the performance of a AI model is degraded over a period of time because of data drift or model drift or other purposes. So you can understand what kind of risks are present in different models and use these to identify when to use a model and when not to use a model, when to change a model. All these decisions, these are very, very critical. Then you will have to do incident reporting if a issue has been identified in a deployment in terms of risks. Then you'll have to quantify it and periodically review it and take necessary actions. So, the platform also offers, the Pare platform also offers what kind of risks are present, what kind of risks have been reported, what kind of mitigation actions have been taken in line, right? So that significantly accelerates. So assurance is the last section, within this. So we'll have a look at it and then quickly take some questions. So you need to have an inventory of your AI models. So you need to do a DP, AI impact assessment, understands the model which are being used, audit it with AI red teaming, and then say whether it can be used in the ecosystem or not. Right. You can also do audit, AI audit framework, where you can have 3 levels of audit. Like you can have internal audit, third party audits, and periodic reviews of it to ensure that your AI ecosystem is safe and secure. And you need to, if there are any breaches or any risks, you need to make disclosures to the regulator about these. And then along with the regulator in the industry, there can be a toolkit over a period of time which can mention, okay, these are the kinds of systems that are being used and these are the kind of benchmarks you have to meet in your day-to-day operations. Right. So this is a mapping. We have already shared it online of whatever we discussed till now. And then there are corresponding products that we already have on the platform. We will not go into the details of the individual products, that we can have a separate one-on-one call with you. So we can help you accelerate the entire journey. So in the meanwhile, I think there are a couple of questions, right? I'll take some of these questions. So in the meanwhile, you can scan the QR code and answer a quick survey while I answer the questions. Right. I think there is a question from Ratish. AI red teaming is in which regulation and applicable to whom? So RBI in its recommendation in free AI has recommended you to do AI red teaming. There is a similar requirement for transparency in UAA Act as well. So you need to understand when you're actually taking a open source model from off the shelf model and then you are deploying, right? In which case you should understand the risk. Is there a question?
Yeah, there are a couple of questions.
We'll take them. So for transparency, red teaming is very, very critical. So thus it's a requirement in the EU requirement as well. US also has come up with the AI action plan that also has a red teaming requirement. So you can understand the risk in the model with red teaming and then mitigate it before you start deploying it. So that's a quick answer for that. Karthik has a question on which cybersecurity model does adopt NBFC banks adopt for AI system? This is a very general question. It depends upon your use case. For different use cases, different models may be useful. For example, large language models will be useful probably for chat kind of applications or conversational use cases. You may have some specific small language models in terms of risk requirements, or you may have customized models for your loan approval requirements. So depending upon business use cases, different organizations, different departments, like within an organization, different departments may have different models as their requirements. So that is like quite dependent upon the scenario. Lokesh, is there an overlay of existing control from RBI rather than building a fresh new set of framework? NIST is already working on some AI overlay controls. Okay, this approach can reduce framework on control fatigue and leverage. This model, so already NIST has AI risk management framework in place, NIST AI RMF. This seems to be very much aligned with NIST AI risk management framework. So this is like very much in line with it. So if you are conversant, for example, our products are aligned with NIST AI risk management framework. So NIST's AI risk framework. So it becomes easy for organizations to align. So this is also aligned with it. So
one follow-up on that, Abhilash.
sure.
So the NIST RMF talks about various pillars like govern, manage, etc. But the AI overlay framework that NIST is currently proposing is overlay on top of the existing 853. So my question is, if RBI already has existing technical controls from RBI or any other equivalent, then it's useful to just build an overlay on top of the controls rather than building a fresh new set of framework.
Correct. So there, see in the earlier, so the delta in the US ecosystem is a bit interesting. Earlier they had multiple other attributes of fairness, safety, security. We call it as PASFAR, so privacy, accountability, safety, security, fairness, explainability, reliability, sustainability. With the overlay securing AI framework, the focus is more on security and privacy and how it can be put on top of existing solutions. What is very important is that you cannot just solve it at the inference level. You will have to do across ecosystem, like across the AI pipeline, which includes at the data level, at the model training level, model deployment level, model inference level, and governance level. So this you can see across all NIST frameworks. So this is also pretty much in line. And if you are globally compliant, I don't think this is going to be very different. NIST requirements are very much aligned with it. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Looking forward to continue our conversation in person or over the next live conversation, online conversation. See you. Bye.